Будет этот тогда.
Говорить? Раз.
Раз, два, три, раз, два. Окей. А кто-нибудь может сурдоперевод в ухо нашим гостям дать? Вот.
Yes, so, hello, can you hear me? Yes? So, now we are going to start our session.
Вот вы первый, да? Да. У меня два раза. Я сначала рассказываю. Да. Можно, да? Дорогие друзья,
Dear friends, hello, my name is Sergey Minaev, I'm editor-in-chief of Esquire magazine. Today we will speak about the strategy of successful longevity and new scenarios in big cities to preserve your health. I would like to introduce our today's speakers and guests. Vladimir Filipov, Deputy Head of Labor and Social Protection of the city of Moscow. Thank you. Mick Cornett, Mayor of Oklahoma City 2004-18 from Oklahoma, the U.S. Yelena Dmitrieva, Head of Skis of the Dream and of the foundation of Belogolovtsov Sergei. Valentina Yasin, the model of Oldushko Model Agency and the Model of the Year, according to Glamour magazine. Tatiana Drozdova, co-founder of the team of Young Old. And David August, founder of the Institute of Transformative Medicine, named after Lawrence J. Ellison of the University of South California. Today we are going to cover the main scenario which provide for the citizens of megalopolises to preserve the quality of life at any age. And I would like to give floor to our first speaker, who is Vladimir Filipov, for the introduction of today's discussion. Yes, hello, dear friends. We are the Assembly of Health today. On Friday, on Saturday and Sunday, we will speak a lot about how health can be given back to somebody, but more importantly is to preserve the health, not to get back to being healthy. If we feel we are not well, we usually get the help of specialists. That's true, we need to do that, but drugs, tablets, interventions, operations and surgery, this is the last means when your health status and condition is at the state when you need emergency help and care. According to specialists, some say that 25–30% of medical care is the contribution of our level of health, and 2/3 of the health status is about your genetic status and lifestyle. And so that we continue to live longer, and in Moscow we believe that every month and every year we have better and better conditions to live longer, and we need to pay more attention to our lifestyle. And I would like to remind you that in the beginning of the previous thousands of years, average life expectancy was a little bit more than 70. Today, life expectancy in Moscow is 78 years. And we believe that if we continue with the same trends, and the Moscow government will continue to prioritize that, after the year 2030, the expected life expectancy in Moscow will amount to about 86 years. And what can we do when the share of old population is increasing? And today we have about 3 million retired people. After 2030, this amount will exceed 4 million people. And this is the share of our citizens. And in several thousands of years, we'll also become one of them. And will be the main consumers of certain specific services and products. How can we live more exciting life, and what is done by Moscow government? And we will cover that. A short question to you. Compared to other megalopolises, big cities, what is the average life expectancy in Moscow? I visited Tokyo and I was surprised by the number, not just elderly, but very elderly people, very old people, and they had big suitcases. They were just dragging those big luggages. You can never say they may be 85 or 87 years of age. Like, well, what is the position of Moscow in terms of the growth rate? We are among top 10 cities, big cities, in terms of increase in life expectancy, but we need to be honest. Historically, in the 20th century, this concept of being old was different from other megalopolises, I mean in Moscow, such as maybe was not only about elderly age, but disabled people as well. And from the history we know that they were tried to remove from big cities after the Second World War. So we were ashamed of becoming older. We were ashamed of having some physical disabilities. Fortunately, over the past thousands of years, there were dramatic changes in our perception, and Moscow is in the forefront. We are no longer ashamed of the age. We understand that's a number. It's not important how much years you lived, but how you did that. Tatiana, over to you about the changes of the concept of aging and what Vladimir was talking about. What are the feelings of the person who's getting old? Sorry. I'm so sorry, Tatiana. I remember there was a video on YouTube where people of my age back in 1976 and they went to some club in a village and they were saying, we are not old people, we are 40 years old. They felt uneasy in a nightclub, you know. They looked much older when they were 40 in the 70s compared to people who are 40 now, because they felt old. That's a very typical story. Can you imagine now if you come to a nightclub in Berlin, let's say, and people are dancing there all night long? For sure, you are doomed to meet elderly people, people of older ages, and the nightclubs and nightlife is changing. What used to be acceptable and decent for people of middle age and older age, well, these concepts are also changing. Yes, traditionally older age and elderly people, and it's still perceived as a period of your life when a period of decay, of sadness, not well-being, and the people, elderly people, well, there are lots of stereotypes that surrounds them. It comes from the industrial age, from the 20th century, and such as they are not in the trend, they are not in the know, not in vogue. They do not understand the modern culture, the info environment. They don't know how to learn the work words that they tend to conflicts. And there are lots of stereotypes of this type. It's called ageism, when the value is only for middle age and for young age, and elderly people are not valued, and there is a lot of pressure from employers, from the society, and it starts from the 45 years of age, and it can start from middle life. well, in our country, and not only in our country, these things may start happening to you. The life expectancy is growing. We live longer, and the person may feel uneasy starting from 50 years of age, and then he has all of the chances for 25 years of life, one-fourth of his life to live with those feelings, and that's not normal. That should not be happening. And in response to this increasing life expectancy, to the increased number of elderly people in the society, and there is the following trend, a liberalization of aging. What do we mean? We need to get rid of the idea that only middle-aged people and young people have a value in our society. That's a rejection to hide your age, not to reveal it, and a search of a new identity for older people, search for more freedom to make decisions related to how to live your life, to which subculture to belong, and also which trends to use. That's a global trend, and we can see it manifested in many things. Elderly people, they appear in the spheres where they were absent from. For example, we see elderly people in education, older people, not as teachers and trainers, but as pupils, as students. People study all their lives. They improve their qualifications after 50 and 60, and they even change their professions, and they find new dedications for themselves. Elderly people, they appear in the glamorous world, in the fashion world, and where young people used to reign. It's like Celine Dion. She was wearing like 18-year-old girl. It's coming back to your idea. It was happening in Soviet times, in our times as well. So why are you trying to look younger? You're not a boy. Why are you wearing these clothes? You're not a girl, not a boy. There were some stupid but well-established stereotypes. Yes, that's absolutely correct. The question is not to impose some ideas and images about being more young, more active, or something more traditional like look your age, but it's about expanding freedom, expanding the freedom of making decisions about yourself. I think that's the core of it. And this new value of your age, the old age, which is valued in the society, and the freedom which is valued. This is the energy which help you to deliver the strategy of successful older age. Because all of these strategies is a set of very banal ideas, like some advice such as you need to realize yourself, how you need to take care of your nutrition and health, your physical activity, physical fitness. You need to have good relations with your family members. You need to take care of that. You need to have more social connections. You should not lose your social contacts, and you need to try to be included in different communities, feel that you belong there, and so on and so forth. These are different pieces of advice. But in this new value of age, there is an energy to make this advice come true, because without new identity, this advice will remain just wonderful and good wishes purely. And in Young Old Team, we are a small lab which is making developments, and state authorities also work with us, foundations and private companies. They make certain surveys and studies around this group of people. People of older age, and we are talking about a new identity, a new image. We try to find against ageism and stereotypes which surround older people. We try to create communities so people can motivate each other, so that looking for support in each other, and they find this support in each other. And we try to launch as much educational programs as we can, which provide specific tools, and they speak about the principles of being successful when you're old, when you're in this third age. And it's not about imposing healthy lifestyle on the people. And we need to expand freedom for everybody, for us, and for each and every of us in our society. Tatiana, a question to you, if you allow. A couple of years ago, I watched a movie, American movie, titled Intern, and De Niro, he was 78, and there was a municipal program. If you don't know the movie, I will just give you the fabula very quickly. He was an intern in a fabulous, glamorous startup, and he was an assistant, and by chance he started to manage it. And you manage state authorities and private companies who come to you. Do we have similar programs like in that movie? Yes, there are quite a lot of nice projects which are dealing with training on and raising awareness about ageism. They speak about the successful strategies for the third age. On top of our festival, Young Alls, that we hold every year. That's a big festival dedicated to strategies of success in third age, and also there is a nice portal like Active Age and grandpas and grandmas. We are designing and promoting some parts of that portals, those portals, and very rare campaigns in our country around development of intergenerational teams. I will make some advertising. So this is IKEA company, and they are bringing this culture of intergenerational teams with mentorship, and we could really learn with the experience how they build and establish the work inside there. And this movie, The Intern, and how they have their work established in their teams. What's the attitude to elderly people in their teams at work? That's a big challenge, of course, for the business and for the state, for the government. What can we do? How we can manage some such teams of different ages? But we need to learn, and the market will respond. There'll be more and more elderly people on the market. There are lots of them now, and there'll be even more of them. And any organizations, any private companies who hire staff, they will have to change and restructure the activities to find positions for them and to find the way of communicating with those people. Thank you, Tatiana. Mika, I would like to give you the floor so that you speak about your own experience.
Of Oklahoma City, which is a mid-sized city in the United States of about 650,000 people. And we had been placed on a list of the most obese cities in America. And you can imagine the embarrassment of being the mayor of a city who's isolated in this instance. And then I got on the scales and I realized that I was obese. At the time I was weighing about 218 pounds. And I remember going on a government website, you know how you type in your height and you type in your weight, and I hit enter and it said obese. And I remember being shocked that I was obese. I had no idea. And you would think a person that was living a life would actually know how overweight they were, but I didn't. But I had lost weight before. I had a kind of a lifetime of going up and down with my personal weight, and stopped eating as much. It was that simple. And I lost about 40 pounds over 40 weeks. And during that time frame, I noticed two things about my city. One, that obesity was a subject we were not comfortable talking about. It seems very personal, and we don't really like to talk about things that affect the way people look and affect the way people weigh. And so I decided that I didn't really know the answer to obesity, but I knew the first step had to be to start talking about it. And so to get a conversation going, I decided to place the entire city on a diet. I went to the zoo, I stood in front of the elephants, and I said, we're going to lose 1 million pounds. And ultimately, over the next 4 years, 47,000 people went to our website, signed up, logged in, logged their weight, and we lost the 1 million pounds. We also went about changing the infrastructure of the city. We had built an incredible city, but it was designed around cars. And we went back around to our civil engineers and said, how would the city look different if we designed it around people? What if we built more sidewalks? What if we built jogging and biking trails? What if we built senior wellness centers, invested in the sports of canoe and kayak and rowing, and all of these opportunities to get people outside? And so the look and feel of Oklahoma City some 10 years later is much, much different. And we're attracting highly educated 20-somethings from all over the United States, and as a result, our economy is doing really, really well too. So we've gone from one of the worst cities in the country for health to a city that's, I'm not going to say we're at the top of the list, but we're doing much better and on the list of the healthiest cities.
Можно
So could you give more details about how you started, what you started with specifically? Because a person doesn't want to move, really. That's natural. People were not doing any sports. They were eating whatever they wanted, what they felt like. How you worked with the public opinion? What is important? The promotion of healthy lifestyle. What tools you did and what were the first steps?
Tell you that everybody looks like a supermodel in Oklahoma City today. But, very many people were receptive. And I think, losing weight is hard. And when you're doing something that's hard, it's a little easier if you feel like you're not doing it alone. And in this case, we had an entire city that was kind of providing support for those who were going through the weight loss opportunity. We also had a business community that decided it was a good time to talk about their wellness programs with their employees. And so almost every human resources department started monitoring or providing prizes to those who could improve their health. Inside places of worship, pastors would start talking about obesity in their sermons. And so we took a subject that people were uncomfortable discussing and bringing it out in the light. I had to talk about my own personal struggles. But what you could see was happening was that husbands and wives were talking about obesity for maybe the first time ever, discussing it with their children, and sometimes the first time ever, discussing it with their coworkers, discussing it with their neighbors. And we found that when you start bringing a difficult subject out into the open, it seems much easier. Some of the roadblocks disappear. We also provided healthier menus. We also provided opportunities to exercise. But I always want to remind an audience of this size that if you're obese and you're trying to lose weight, you're not going to be able to exercise your way out of it. You're going to most certainly have to eat differently, different foods or less food. I think the exercise message needs to be spread universally to everyone. And I think we really do a disservice to the subject when we isolate obese people and suggest that they need to exercise. Because obesity is something that, exercise is something that everyone should partake in. But in Oklahoma City, we've seen a cultural shift in the way that we look at health and the way that we look at activity. And we finally stood up and looked at ourselves in the mirror and said, it doesn't have to be this way. We're a city that can do better, and we have. And it's been remarkable to see the changes in the city's infrastructure and how that has led to a healthier lifestyle and made people more likely to want to move to Oklahoma City because they want to be part of a healthier culture.
Mick, so what was the mean longevity in your first term, and what is in 2018? What was the mean longevity at your last term? So how did it increase? Did it improve or not?
Yes, all of the health statistics that are monitored in the city by our county health department have improved across the board. Instances of stroke, instances of heart disease. We've had significant improvement in all of those ways. And where we used to have, very few sidewalks, very few opportunities for people to get out and move around the city, Now when you go to the city, they're full of people walking and biking and running. And you see more and more people wearing the wearables on their arm to try and monitor their health statistics. We've just become a culture that monitors its health more closely. Previously, it didn't seem like it was a high priority in the community. And I think by bringing out the obesity effort, we really drew attention to health in general, got people talking about it more inside schools, inside businesses, and it's just improved the entire culture. It doesn't happen quickly, it doesn't happen overnight, but in this case, it's been a period of 10 to 15 years, and there's a marked difference today between when we just started.
Спасибо, Мик.
Thank you very much, Mick.
Дать вам слово.
I would like to give you floor and please tell us about infrastructural changes in the city of Moscow that has happened recently. So, dear friends, I would not want it to be only about Moscow. Let's talk about Russia in general. But certainly there is a social effect when every day we see changes that are taking place, but we don't see the overall picture. We don't see the general progress that we achieved during 3 or 4 years. In order to change habits, that's what Mr. Mayor has been talking about. That's what we really want to achieve. Infrastructure is a very important part of it. There is no one person in Moscow who knows that you should not consume alcohol at night. You should walk 10,000 steps daily, to sleep 8 hours daily and more. So theoretically we have lots of knowledge and we can be great promoters, but if there is no infrastructure, if there is lots of dirt outside, if there is no community that supports you, otherwise your friends let's go to the bar and have a blast, it's very difficult to talk about healthy lifestyle. Theoretically it works out well, but not in practice. Therefore, the government of Moscow decided to invest a lot in the infrastructure. We are very used to the fact that Moscow parks are very convenient, very comfortable, look beautiful, and so on, and you can do any sports there all year long. But 10 years ago, if you remember how Moscow parks looked like, you remember nobody wanted even to attend them. So we started from the parks so that people can walk 10 kilometers a day or run 10 kilometers a day and get pleasure. Talking about social sphere, in the last 2 years, our main projects have been the Moscow Longevity Project and modernization of social service centers with the creation of the project My Social Center, and I would like to talk more about those projects, so we are even more engaged in this project. So Moscow Longevity today covers more than 200,000 retired people that free of charge can engage in the project and do any activities they like. This is a lifestyle of Moscow retired people today, but in 2018, when we could say there were so many opportunities to lead a healthy and active lifestyle, lots of classes around in the neighborhood, only 6,000 retired people would attend those places. Only 6,000 retired people would go to such and be involved in those projects. So only 160,000 people were covered. Today, Moscow Longevity Project covers more than 200,000 people. So we increased number of participants by 10 times. And for Moscow retired people, it's a great chance. And this number is increasing weekly. About 2,000 people join this project weekly. This project, Moscow Longevity, makes it possible to do various classes, various healthy classes, and we made business more accessible for elderly people. In 2019, 1,350 suppliers of among private businesses cooperate with this project. I would like to say that in 2019, the number of non-for-profit organizations that are engaged in this project increased by 3 times. They even do not close those programs in summer, which means that programs are very popular, and we pay quite good money for those businesses, and they're interested to be part of this project. But the most important thing is the change of perception, the change of our mindset. So what should happen? So people change their attitudes and start living a healthy lifestyle. Certainly promotion, recommendations, and so on, word of mouth, they really give very good results. So most of the participants of the projects, they attend various classes, various activities, and they do it 3 or 4 times per week. We help to shape healthy habits for elderly people. When all the people come to outpatient clinics, they are looking for a prescription, for some drugs, for consultancy of medical specialties. But today, each therapist, each general practitioner has to hand out a special leaflet that describes what activities are available in this particular neighborhood, and it is free of charge. And it really works very well, and this combination of healthcare and city support gives very splendid result. Last year we made a special classification that shows what activities are good for if you have some certain diseases which are especially helpful to you. We reshaped the format of the centers of social services, and the most demand we see in the new modern facilities. We have a center community in each district, and they are being operated in 5 Moscow districts: Taganka, Marina Roshcha, Preobrazhenka, and the street of Vinnyovskaya. And we are going to open more 33 centers of social services where the main owner will be the guest, the visitor, and you can do there whatever you want. So we are used to the fact that there are lots of bans in our culture. You can't bring your pet, you can't shout, you can't do this or do that, but in those centers you can do whatever you want. You should enjoy active lifestyle, and that will help you to change your perception of healthy lifestyle. And certainly support of your colleagues, of your neighborhoods, of your nearest and dearest is very important. Those who are in their 30s or 40s today, they are responsible of the elderly people. We should think what our grandmothers do. So please find in your district our addresses. This information is available anywhere, and help your elder relatives to enroll in those programs. It's the most important thing. Difficult thing is to make the first step, and then you will enjoy it immensely, I can guarantee it to you. Valentina, in 2018, the journal Glamour called you the model of the year. You are invited in a very popular TV show by Ivan Urgant. Yes, it happened next day. You are not a professional model, as far as I know. It was not your profession to be a model when you were younger, no? So tell us about your experience. What happened in your life, or why your life changed so dramatically? Well, I would like to give you some more interesting facts. I'm looking at the audience, and it seems like our discussion is quite serious, so maybe I will share some funny stories with you just to cheer us up. So when I got retired, my son was worried, so I didn't get bored. Does everybody hear me? Okay, very well. So when I got retired, I started to work at a pharmacy, at a local pharmacy, because my pension was not very big. And it was a very good, actually, opportunity. So I worked just 2 hours a day, and it was so nice, to work as a pharmacist, and then you are free. So my son just put my picture in a social media, and then he got a request from the city of Moscow, from Alexandra Leroy. She asked me to pay a visit and to make a photo session. I got scared. I did not understood what she wanted from me, what kind of shooting she was talking about. But I got interested. The shooting was great. It was complicated to do it at the first time, but it was very interesting, was very exciting. And as previous speakers said, it is very important for children to pay more attention to their elderly parents, grandparents, because I think in Russia we have a very strong relationship in families, and Igor Gavar invited me to the model agency Oldushka after that photo shooting. Okay, is it interesting to everyone? I'm just looking at the audience, and I don't feel my story is interesting, but this is my personal experience. I hope that it would be interesting to somebody else as well. Maybe it could be useful to some people. Were you afraid of those changes in your life? Yes, I was very afraid. What your friends said, are you crazy? What are you doing? You are not very young. Or people probably supported you and said, okay, go and do it. First of all, I asked my children whether I should do it or not. Did they support you? My son was very happy. He was very happy that I got such an offer, and he said, Mom, you have nothing to lose. You are quite mature. You have a very good reputation. You have a nice image, so why not have a try? But when Sasha told me about the topic of that photo shooting, and it was a female agent or agent of a female, when you lose your physical beauty, but you gain something else. So your internal beauty starts to flourish, because we are able to love more, to take care of our children, of our grandchildren, and so on. I actually thought about a woman who was 93 years old. I live in St. Petersburg, so I met a woman of 93 years old. So can you imagine, she was born before the revolution, and all of her relatives died, her son, her daughter, and she was very happy to talk to me because she was very lonely, and she told me so many interesting stories about her life even before revolution, before 1917, and she said, Valentina, I have so much tender. Every night I read poems and lyrics to my beloved relatives who are not alive anymore, but I just take a picture of some of them and read to them. Valentina, what about today? Are you working as a model at present? How many shows do you work at? So how many shows are you involved every week? Or how many photo shootings? So how often do you do such things? Well, unfortunately, after I was nominated, after I was nominated as the Model of the Year of 2018, unfortunately, everything stopped. I have no more invitations. It is very sad, very strange. It should be the opposite. Yes, I think so. Igor Gavar provided me lots of support. I think he did a lot for our generation, for my generation. But unfortunately, it got to a standstill. I hope it's going to change, and I would like to say thank you for such a great opportunity to share my experience. But as for my colleagues from the model agency Oldushka, who are older 4 or 5 years than me. Actually, we have a very big team in this model agency. We have quite many models. They are very successful and they have lots of offers, and I'm very happy for them. It's nice to see their looks, to see how their career is being developed, to see their accounts on the Instagram. I have a question. Can I say a few words about my favorite project? As I said, I was engaged in more projects before I was given a Glamour Award, but when a mature person comes to a stylist or a makeup artist, you got lots of attention, you get lots of care, and you feel trust. It really makes you feel very inspired, and you feel you can do anything and everything. You see that you are beautiful no matter how old you are. You get a great hairstyle, you have great makeup, great looks, you have perfect outfits, and when you go on a run walk, you feel that your body gives you a great response. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. You feel that life starts again. And this is very amazing. So, for me, it was an amazing experience indeed. Thank you very much, Valentina. Thank you for your experience. I would like to give floor to Yelena Dmitrieva. Thank you very much. You know, to talk after such a great speaker is very moving. Our business talk was stopped by such a creative remark by Valentina. So I represent the program The Skis of Your Dreams. So it's a coordination center of sports rehabilitation. Initially it was established for children with cerebral palsy, with autism, and other lesions with Down syndrome and other complicated diagnoses. This January we celebrate the 6th anniversary of our program. And 2 years ago, as we are based in the city of Moscow, we certainly got engaged in the Moscow longevity program, and thanks to the grant by mayor, we worked with 30 retired Moscow people, and we train them to work to mountain skiing. And I can tell you, as a leader of this program, you know, those 30 retired people, they became a great friends of mine. Certainly, you feel a big warmth when you work with children, but when you communicate with mature people, you do understand that this project, how important is this project, how interesting it could be for both parties. I remember each person, I remember how we called them, how we helped them to believe in themselves, and we said that they can do mountain skiing free of charge with high qualified instructors, and help to believe them that they can achieve a lot in this complicated sports. And this year was absolutely fabulous. We made lots of friends, and so we had pensioners from 7 Moscow retired centers, and we really help them to overcome their fears, and we told them that no matter how old you are, you can try mountain skiing and you can become very successful. How to overcome your fear? When I was 30 years old, I felt so scared to start skiing. I still feel scared to do mountain skiing, but we do our classes at at the student slopes. So we do not make them do something very complicated. While we talk to each other, while we warm up our muscles, we learn how to fall down, how to keep the balance, and so on. Why did we start from mountain skiing? Because roller sport is more complicated. We did understand that all our participants were quite mature. The youngest participant was 57 years old, and the oldest one was 81 years old, and he started mountain skiing. Can you imagine? He actually had a previous experience of skiing.
Евгений Абрамович Зикеев.
And Evgeny Zikevich, when he was going to attend our festival in the park, he was asking, should I bring my own skates? This means that he doesn't separate himself from sports. I wouldn't like people to have any doubts that we are not talking about records. For us, sports rehab is a way of introducing people into the society so that people understand, despite the age, they can do many things, so that they continue doing many things with their grandchildren. And we were having classes at Izmailovsky Park. We allowed them to bring their children and grandchildren. That was cool. At the first stage, you had 30 people. No, all of these people had 5 classes of mountain skis, then roller skating in the parks, and then they have different types of sports in groups. And they were already confident they could do things. And these people, they respond well. And Scandinavian walking in fitness and Lithuanian and other types of sports, they are wonderful, but if you do some extreme sports, you get more adrenaline, right? And the success of this project gave us a chance to apply for presidential grants, and our project covers 5 regions: Moscow region, Udmurtia Republic, Chelyabinsk region, and Altai region. Unfortunately, this year we have only 12 people from Moscow and 12 people from each region. Yes, I want to ask this question, yes. And is it harder to promote the program in the regions? Our colleagues, they don't have confidence that they will find participants for the program. I advised them to contact regional centers for elderly people. We have active longevity program in Moscow, and I asked the longevity centers to provide me the candidates who may be interested. People in the regions, they do it differently, and they have some participants who are children, and they have grandmothers and grandfathers, they bring children to different sports classes, and also roller skating and skiing. Becomes a family activity. And what's more important, sports or communication? I think it's more about communication, no doubt. Somebody asked me this question. It's impossible not to have any incident or accidents in 1 year's time, provided that for 1 hour you get a class from a trainer, and he's just almost holding your hand all the time. Can you speak briefly about this group of 30 people? And then I have a question, what is an average member of this team? Are they active in their life? Of course, a person who comes with the roller skates, he's been active all the time. And for example, did you have any cases when the people used to be passive and they became active? No, there are no miracles. And also I wanted to prove that not only women can be active, and women are more active. Yes, they are. Women are more active. In Krasnogorsk, I have 9 retired males. And why it happens to male? They work longer. Yes, they work more years. They retire later on. or probably they don't get the information about the program. And I have Vitaly Novikov, and he says, I believed only after the in the third call, because you cannot be trained for free to do mountain skiing. Yes, and we had a couple. They had one trainer for skis, and then for roller skating they had different trainers. And we have lots of limitations, you know. And because everybody has his own pace and speed, that's why we had different trainers. Women tend to be more active, but men are quite more interested in that. You mentioned that we have a lot of stereotypes. How do you break them? Only with tenderness. We talk to them. We find something the person can understand from our explanations. And people who did not believe anything, they become our best supporters. And I have a question. How we recruit people? When we received the grant from the mayor, I started to have lots of requests, and I have a limited number of people. Every day I get requests to be included into the group, and they say, I want to do mountain skiing or roller skating, and people ask me to include them every day. Yes, this is really like a snowball. If active longevity could think about our activities with the level of professionalism that we have, with the impact that we have. But you received the grant from the mayor, yes, last year. Now we use the presidential grant. Yes, there are works ongoing. No, these are the lucky ones. We would like such courses to become free of charge, so that they are in each city, in each regional capital. David, I would like to give floor to you. Dave.
It's been a remarkable discussion tonight, but I want to change one thing. Lifespan is not the key metric, it's health span. It's how healthy and how long you live. If you live long, but you're in your bed and you can't move around and enjoy things, it's not the same. So the key is that, and when you start to look at the data, big data, things come through. One of the largest studies ever done showed that every year you delay retirement, you reduce the incidence of Alzheimer's by 3%. So if you retire at 85 instead of 65, that's a 60% reduction. It's the old adage, you don't use it, you lose it. And so we have to figure out ways of getting people over the age of 65, when they start to retire, they have to keep using their brain. They have to become uncomfortable, not comfortable. And so it really is critical that as a society, we start to re-engineer things. And in that way, we can actually have the biggest impact on health span. If you're older and you do step down from your occupation, you retire, I want you to find something else to do that makes you uncomfortable. I want you to do the exercises every day that are difficult and not easy. We need people to push themselves. And many of the programs we heard here today are remarkable in that regard, because they start to push that direction. It's an exciting time in my space in that we can prevent and we can treat diseases like never before. The key is to keep people healthy while we do it.
Да, я потерялся в микрофонах.
I got lost with the mics. So what do you think is the main and key factor of longevity?
So what is the key factor of longevity? Genetics are 6% of longevity. 6%. 94% of longevity is your behavior. It's what you do. Some of the things in longevity are obvious. Don't smoke, right? Tobacco, California, where I'm from, it's the lowest smoking in the United States. Yet still, tobacco-related are 31% of our healthcare costs. So behavior is critical. The second is movement over time. Our bodies were designed to move. Your lymphatics that control your immune system have no muscles. So it's actually the rhythmic contraction of the muscles in your legs when you walk that make your body work. So just like they did in Oklahoma, re-engineer your life to encourage yourself to move. The next is you're in charge of your own health. I mean, all often we say, well, I'll go to the doctor and whatever he or she says I will do. Throw that out the window. You are in charge of your own health. I want you to start to look at all of your health records, look at your numbers, go to the internet and learn. Each of us needs to figure out where to go, whether that be the right vaccinations, whether that be the preventive strategies, and then talk to your doctor about preventive strategies. There are two remarkable pills that can actually have a major impact. The first is a drug that will reduce not the incidence, but the death rate of cancer by 30%, heart disease by 22%, and stroke by 17%. This is a baby aspirin. So an aspirin a day, by blocking inflammation, will make us live much longer. The second is a class of drugs called statins. These are the Lipitor, the Crestor drugs. They lower cholesterol, but they also block inflammation, and they reduce cancer and heart disease. They are inexpensive and remarkably well tolerated and make people live longer. The fourth is what you eat. So the key is eat real food, not processed food, not things in a blender or a shake or a juice. Eat real food the way we were intended to. And it's not just what you eat, it's when you eat. Eat your meals 3 times a day with nothing, nada, zero in between. No snacking in between meals. You know, I can go through, many of these rules. Most of them are rather obvious, but they're all data-driven. There is no shortcut to living longer. So any pill that someone is trying to tell you, this vitamin or this supplement will do this and that, throw that out the window. It's not real. It didn't work. The key simple thing is to just eat real food.
Я хочу сказать...
I would like to say about my own experience when Dave mentioned that in California they don't smoke much and they do lots of sports. I visited LA this year and I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning because of jet lag. What can I do? At 6 I went to the gym, and I can never go to the gym this early in Moscow. And I was there in the gym at 6 a.m. and there was a line to the machines. LA is doing sports, exercising starting from 6 o'clock in the morning. People are running, jogging there in the gyms with their personal trainers, so on and so forth. That's a really healthy city, and we understand what we see in the US, in some movies or in some TV programs. There are lots of obese people, but talking about California and specifically about Los Angeles, that's a very healthy megalopolis. That's a very healthy city.
I love the fact going to the gym. 15 minutes a day, you have to get your heart rate 50% higher from where you start. But the key is also the rest of the day to move and to encourage you. In our country and yours, you have a right to do what you want. You can smoke, you can sit all day, you can eat all you want. But does society have the obligation of paying for the ramifications of your behavior? That's the critical question. In the United States now, we're starting to charge smokers higher health insurance premiums than non-smokers. We're trying to charge people who are large, who are obese, we're charging them higher health insurance than the people who are not. Why should the non-smoker subsidize the smoker? We have to take responsibility for our health care. It's a movement. The mayor did it in Oklahoma City. I want to see it in every city. Really a movement around health because it helps all of us.
Сколько раз лично...
So what's about your agenda? How many times a week do you exercise, and what's your nutrition plan?
It's very simple. I do things I don't like. That's important. Right? I do yoga once or twice a week. I don't like it. I'm not good at it. But it makes me uncomfortable, and that's important. I play tennis a couple of days a week because I like to get outside and run around. Getting outside is critical for the brain. The human brain evolved to do pattern recognition as well as physical activity, right? He or she who can make the kill in the wild in the old days and find their way back to the village survived. So it's critical we do that. And the more we can be out of doors, the better. I try to have 3 meals a day. around the same time every day, and I try to have protein and fat at every meal. My breakfast is eggs or yogurt or hard cheeses. My lunch is salad with protein. My dinner is cold water fish, occasionally beef and chicken. And I try to use alcohol in moderation. I have wine a couple of nights a week, but I have 2 or 3 nights with no alcohol at all. And I try to go to bed and get up the same time. You know, an amazing study was done in the United States where they took children, 600 children, who they went to their parents and said, have your child go to bed whenever he or she wants. Here's a stopwatch. Wake them up 9 hours later. They said to the other 600 parents, have your children go to bed the same time every night and wake up in 9 hours. So both groups had 9 hours of sleep. In the kids that went to bed the same time and got up the same time, there was a 23% improvement in cognitive function, in thinking and test taking. Well, that's from good to great right there. Our body loves regularity, and we need to respect that as much as possible.
Да, на самом деле из того,
Out of what Dave mentioned, discipline is the most important thing. To do sports and do things that you don't like, and sleep and wake up at the same time. Last question: at which age a person from a big city should think about longevity? Of course, it's clear if lived up to 70 years of age and decide they are not very healthy lifestyler, that's too late, of course. So what's the age when you need to start taking care about longevity?
Data show the following: the earlier you intervene, the better you do. The problem with healthcare is that if you do something today, it's not going to help you for 10 or 20 years. So it's very difficult when there's a lag between intervention and outcome. But any person at any age can start to intervene. You can start walking and moving, and walking is all you need to do to increase how long you live. An hour a week extra of walking makes you live longer. 2 hours a week extra of walking makes you live even longer. So any age one can start to intervene, but I'd encourage every generation from the 20s, 30s, all the way up to 100, start to change and start to look at things because you can live longer. And in today's world, I'm an optimist. We have treatments for cancer, and I see end-stage cancer all the time, but we have treatments today that can make people live years longer. A year from now, they'll make people even live longer. We have treatments now that can make people with Alzheimer's do better. And a year or two from now, they're going to be magic pills that are even more exciting. So the healthier we can make you today, the longer you're going to live tomorrow.
спасибо. Я хочу отдельно.
I would like, as a journalist and TV host, to say one important thing. So, Dave and Meg, how they're making presentation. This is a TV format, and we could make a TV show here. That's important when you are in charge of public, motivational, and social project to make quality self-presentation. And this deserves a round of applause, actually. I would like to suggest all of the participants of the discussion to conclude in one sentence, answer to the question, what we can do now to live longer. Vladimir, we will start from you. I think it is important to have good emotions, to be surrounded by the right people, non-toxic people, and of course take care of your health. And we know one thing, what cannot be measured cannot be managed, but we can measure our leukocytes, the calories, the number of hours you sleep, because take care of yourself, don't be lazy. Tatiana? So, there are different levels, and you know, it can take me hours to answer to this question, not one sentence. So there are two main things. Is perception of yourself when you are in older age, when you are mature, to be positive and taking yourself at any age and confidence that your life can be changed for the better with the help of very simple strategies and changes of your convictions and idea in any situation, even a complicated one. And the second advice is related to the changing world, but still that's important. The society and the state needs to invest lots of efforts to study the new ways and methods of prolonging life, of longevity. You need to hold lots of studies in order to find those drugs that previous speakers mentioned, to look for those ways which will help people to live longer, not just longer, that healthier as well, to live a complete life all of this time. And I would like to agree with Tatiana. State support is important and state ideology is important here. When I was smoking everywhere, where it was prohibited or allowed. And when they prohibited to smoke in restaurants, I was happy. I was prohibited. They will kick me out. I was happy, and I was smoking there. I was damaging the health of people surrounding me. It happened many years ago, but yes, the state should promote healthy lifestyle, because the more healthy citizens we have, the better is our economic conditions. That's very simple. Valentina, the same question to you. I would like to agree with Tatiana. Yes, we can hear you. And from my generation, I would like to wish you to be curious, because life is advancing, but we all come from Shakespeare novels. We are suffering. Our feelings are the same like centuries ago. And I would like to wish all of you to be curious and keep up with the times, keep up with the Jonases. Make the same question, what can we do now to live longer?
Get naked. I want everybody to stand in front of a mirror once a month and look at your body. Your body is talking to you, and you're in charge of your own health. So your doctor will see you once a year, but I want you to check your blood pressure several times a day. Look at your body, look for changes, and then speak to your doctor. Get naked.
Спасибо. May.
My own image is going. I would say take baby steps in the right direction. Eat less and eat better. And if there's a choice between stairs and an elevator, take the stairs.
Спасибо.
Елена, the same question. I would like to go back to Ayurveda and yoga. In yoga, there is such a term, awareness or conscientiousness. I want you to be responsible for yourself and to be conscious, so that you understand that your health is in your hands. If you want to be healthy, be healthy. Thank you. Dear friends, I would like you to applaud to our guests. I think we heard many important things. There is a global trend. The humanity is trying to live longer and better, more actively, and feel better and comfortable. The most important thing is how you feel. I completely agree with you. Thank you for this discussion.